Today, let's get to listen to stories of triumph amidst failures, courage despite fear, strength through weakness, and even the occasional hopeful cheer from personal punny experiences. I am your host, RKaye, and this is the BetterU podcast.
What's up, fam, and welcome to another episode of the BetterU podcast. Coach RKaye here, and thank you so much for joining me in today's show. Now, we have been answering quite a lot of frequently asked questions for the past few episodes, and today is no different. So we have yet another question that we will do our best to answer and to pretty much relate to when it comes to starting out your fitness journey, or in case you're someone who's trying to go back to staying active again. So these are commonly some of the questions that many of us, including myself, have asked quite a few times. Maybe one, two, multitude of times. But yes, these are very common questions that, of course, we would like to be answered, right? And for today's episode, our question that we will try our best to answer and resolve today is it okay to feel sore after you train? All right. And I think this is an important question to discuss with everyone because there is still that big notion for many of us, including myself sometimes. There's always that notion when it comes to relating training or exercise or keeping active and feeling soreness, all right? Now, our bodies, as I've mentioned in previous episode, our bodies do tend to try and adapt to certain physical activities that we do. That would include exercise and regular training. Now, our bodies are very, very smart, but in the beginning stages of a fitness journey or starting out a regular training program, our bodies are still trying to adapt to the program or the different skills that we get to learn. So this in itself will have a certain effect in our bodies, and that would include feeling sore. So to answer the question quickly, it is quite all right to feel sore when or after you train. It actually won't necessarily be right after you train. The immediate effect after you train is probably you feel exhausted, you feel depleted, you feel you just want to lie down, do nothing else, right? So that normally is an immediate effect. Oftentimes we call it delayed onset of muscle soreness or DOMS. That is actually the body's way to physiologically adapt to what we made our muscles do, all right, during our training sessions. Now, what is not normal is for you to experience soreness a little too long. So normally DOMS, or delayed onset of muscle stress, that would normally come in as late as maybe 2-3 days after your training session, especially if it was quite a hard training session that you had, especially if you also have a totally brand new program, or if you were taught specific drills and exercises that are brand new to you. So your body will have to, or will slowly adapt to it, and the soreness that you will feel during that time will oftentimes happen 2-3 days after. What's not healthy will be for you to feel that soreness for a prolonged period of time. All right. And prolonged, I mean, it lasts you like a week or so. That's something different. That's totally different. So to answer the question, that is not a good thing for you to feel, okay? If you feel soreness for an extended period, more than 2-3 days, then that's probably a different thing. Now, to address also that issue, a lot of people won't necessarily associate or be able to identify the feeling of soreness. Sometimes people think that pain and soreness are an equal type of feeling during training, which of course is not, it's not equal. All right. So when you feel pain, that is something totally different, and that is something that should be addressed, especially if you have a coach or a trainer with you. You have to make sure to imply that, okay, my muscles do not feel sore, they feel painful. Now, what is probably the best way to identify if you are feeling pain or soreness? Now, if you take a look at it, it would probably depend on each person, but ideally, soreness is something that is, for the lack of term, it's something that feels a little bit irritating. So it's an irritable feeling in your muscles or in certain parts of your body. So let's say you did a bunch of tricep and bicep exercises. So your soreness will feel or will be directed to your biceps and your triceps or your arms, pretty much, right? And so what often happens if you have that soreness, and especially if you have not had that training routine that you did with your arms, if it's the first time that you did that, you will feel soreness in your bicep and your tricep. And what would normally happen, based on experience, you won't be able to like wash your hair or maybe remove your shirt as usual. So that from based on my own experience, that is something normal. It will be hard, but the pain will subside a couple of days after. All right. Now, in terms of pain, rather, as I mentioned a while ago, soreness would normally not come in or would often be a delayed reaction of your body. All right. But with regard to pain, or if we want to equate it or want it to be a little bit relatable for everyone, pain normally with training, you could associate it with maybe a sprain, or pretty much in general, these are sensations we feel when we get injured. All right, so that is totally different when we talk about soreness. All right, so today with our question, feeling sore is something that is all right. You will always, I wouldn't say it would be always normal, because sometimes you will not feel that sore, but in terms of the beginning stages of a brand new program, you will have that soreness. But in terms of pain, all right, that is something that you should never associate with training. Because why? Pain is, again, as I mentioned, it is very much an indication of strains, sprains, generally different types of injuries. Now, when you feel pain, especially if you have a coach or a trainer with you who's helping you out with your programming, be always sure to let them know that you feel pain or that you are in pain. All right. Otherwise, if you do your training sessions alone at home, maybe you should be looking into the type of exercises or drills that you are doing. Are you doing your form correctly? Are you executing the movement in the best tempo that you could possibly do it? Or are you doing it a little too fast maybe? That's why you're feeling a little bit of a strain or a sprain in your joints. And that is also a good indication for you to recognize if something is more of a pain, a sensation of pain other than soreness. Soreness is mostly and commonly felt in the bulk of your muscles. And oftentimes pain is associated with your joints, your ligaments, your connective tissue. All right, that's also a good indication for you to recognize which sensation you're actually feeling. All right, now we could also continue on answering this question, and you're probably going to ask additionally, is it okay to train while I feel sore? That can only be answered by you, all right? So if you feel the soreness, generally speaking, you are still or will still be able to train. But of course, you would have to decrease the intensity of the training routine that you are in. Generally speaking as well, let's say you're experiencing your soreness in your lower extremities, what you can do best is to have a day where you could do certain drills and exercises that are a lot more engaging of the upper body so that your lower extremities can have a bit of a break. But again, I'm not saying that you should totally or that you don't exercise your lower extremities for an entire week, all right? You can do a lot more assistive exercises. So let's say you did like a big squat day, all right? What you can do like machine exercises, like extensions, like curls, exercises that would assist on or that would complement what you already had from your previous training that gave you your soreness, all right? So those are also additional tips and tricks that you can do in your own training routine so that you won't have to struggle and you won't have to, skip off any of your training days, okay? But in contrast to this question, are you or should you still train if you're feeling pain? All right. As I mentioned a while ago, pain is something that you would most likely feel immediately during a training session. All right. If the pain is something that you felt during the training session and then eventually after a couple of days when you go back to training or you want to train again and the pain is not there, go ahead and do or continue your training. But otherwise, if your feeling of pain or that sensation of pain after you trained was still or is still there after that particular training session, then you may want to consult with a doctor or a physical therapist. Go have whatever it is that is painful checked out for you, all right? Again, you should be always very wary of the sensation of soreness and pain. Of course, these are sensations or feelings during training that you don't necessarily want to feel, all right? But as I mentioned, soreness is something that is quite a bit an after effect or something that you would would most likely feel after a couple of days of a really great and well exhausted training session. Okay. So again, if you are on the fence, if if you train and then you feel soreness, if you should actually train again, it is something that would definitely be up to you. You can rest for a couple of days and then go back to training. That is something that you could always look into. Now, also, in relation to this question or this topic, oftentimes as well, people think that when they train, they absolutely have to feel soreness, all right? Well, that is something that is related to, again, your body adapting to a training routine. But sometimes, because your body is already used to the physical activity, is already used to you pushing it and challenging it, sometimes the soreness will subside and the soreness will not be there. Does that mean that your programming is not effective anymore and that you won't have any progress? Definitely not, all right? So please don't equate soreness or that feeling of having your muscles feel so exhausted to your results or to your progress, all right? Please don't equate it to that. Don't also be scared that you feel your muscles do not feel that soreness anymore and that nothing is happening to your body, all right? Soreness is never really an indication of those things. So please don't overtrain yourself just so that you could feel the soreness again. I know sometimes it makes you feel a lot better after training to feel that soreness. You feel like, oh, I did my best. I exerted my best effort. That's why I feel sore. All right. That's well and good. But again, it does not always equate for your training sessions to be, super leveling you up, making your progress so much better. Okay. It does not equate to that. So yeah, those are some of possibly the different questions or the different trails of thought that you would have probably related to the question today. All right, guys, I hope that you were able to get a few tips, a few tricks, a few of your questions answered. And if you actually have additional questions for today's show, just leave those in the comment section. If you have any concerns or other things that you would like to discuss, go leave them in the comment section as well, guys. All right. So that is it for today's session. If you have not yet been able to subscribe to the channel, please do, because that really does help out a lot. All right. And if you happen to feel that this show has been very helpful and you feel that someone else will be able to benefit from it, please do share it with others. And of course, never forget to like the video as well. All right, guys. I would like to thank you again for joining me today. Coach RKaye here, reminding you always to never give up on your movement journey because it's never too late to move. Bye, guys.